Right, so this is another episode of Three Flavors of, the show in which I take a look at some of the games in my exponentially growing Steam library. Today, Three Flavors of Realism. There's some games out there which are semi-realistic, and today we're looking at three of them. So we are going to be taking a look at Arma, Red Orchestra 2 / Rising Sun, and Verdun, which rhymes. Yeah, first off, Arma 2 and 3. So I'm not specifically going to be taking a look at any Arma game in particular here, but I wanted to sort of cover a variant of Arma, which I've played for a while. I don't actually play it anymore, but I wanted to talk about it, so that's what we're doing today. So it's what I'd call Arma 2 and or Arma 3 Realism. So these are a bunch of mods and more of a game mode setting that makes Arma actually realistic. So what am I actually on about here, you might be wondering at this point. Well, for Arma 2, it's the Ace and Acre mod. So Ace completely overhauls the game and just makes it more realistic. So it adds a medical system, wind if you want it, fatigue if you want it, vehicle cookouts, bypass, everything. It's a pretty big mod, has a lot of different versions as well. So it turns the base of Arma into something which is actually realistic. You know, by default, Arma is kind of a watered-down simulator. It kind of almost makes it into an actual simulator. I mean, if you want a real simulator, you're gonna have to buy VBS, but that stuff's expensive, so you probably won't be doing that. Then the second big mod is Acre. So Acre is a radio mod. So by default, Arma does have radios. They just don't really work like radios. I mean, you got the different chat options like side chat and everything, and it just becomes a complete clusterfuck. But what Acre does is it actually gives you radios, and then it's all different types of radios as well. They have different ranges and everything. You know, you got vehicle radios as well. And yeah, you know, you can use different frequencies with those radios. You can have an actual command structure. But the thing I actually wanted to touch upon, so these are the mods, the basis of the mods that make it more realistic. I mean, there's more mods out there. There's some different versions for Arma 3 as well. I do believe that Arma 3 has Ace at this point. I don't think it has an official Acre version yet. It's got TFR though, which is Task Force Radio, which basically does the same thing. But what I actually wanted to talk about here is more the setting in which you utilize these mods. So, as I already mentioned, there is a bunch of Ace versions out there. What most people do with these mods is they play it in a group. I mean, you can play this with your friends if you want, but if you want some more people, you want to join an actual Arma group. So this is something like Shack Tack. There's a bunch of different groups out there. You join these groups and then you play in these sessions. So most groups have sessions at set times, say about 2 sessions per week, and these sessions have a bunch of different missions which you play. Some are co-op, which means that all the people are on one side and you try and accomplish an objective, and you fight AI. Now some are TVT, which is team versus team, where you split the humans up and then you shoot at each other. So these things can be quite interesting. I mean, you're playing with actual people. There's more organization than just any random server out there. Everybody has a microphone. It's basically taking Arma and adding some military structure to it with a bunch of mods and an actual group system. Now, I played this for a while. I don't actively play it anymore just due to time constraints, but it's definitely interesting and worth a try if you're interested. So I started out playing with this group called 404, group not found. So I joined up after this one guy called Cyrus. If you've been around with the channel for that long, if you remember that name. He's a good guy. Yeah, I joined up with 404 until that group sort of imploded. And there was this whole thing with drama going on. Basically, there was some disagreements in that group. The owner went mental because people wanted democracy, I think. The owner tried to strip everything down, but sort of failed, and he went on his crazy rant, and I don't know, the whole situation was kind of weird. But anyways, then they tried Democracy 404, which failed horribly, so yeah. And then a new group was formed by this guy called Cyrus, who I just mentioned. So he created a group called Arc, which still exists today. Played with them for a while, but then I don't know, I sort of got tired of co-op missions. I didn't really find them to be too exciting. Some of them can be really drawn out and just plain boring because you don't really get to shoot that much. But also due to time constraints, I started playing less. So eventually I got booted out of the group because I never attended sessions anymore. But yeah, that's my story about Arma Realism. So it's a type of Arma you can try out. It's definitely something different from the standard Arma gameplay, which involves peeking around corners with the third-person camera. But yeah, if you want to try it out, I guess I'll leave a link to Arc in the description. I do think you have to be 18 plus to join up at this point, but all the relevant information is gonna be contained within that link. But moving on to our next game, which is Red Orchestra 2 / Rising Sun. So originally you had Red Orchestra 2, which is a World War II shooter set in the Eastern Front. Then later on came the expansion pack Rising Sun, which also brought in the Pacific campaign. So we got 4 factions to choose from now. If you ever wanted to play as a Japanese person, now you can. But yeah, I've covered this game on this channel before. It's one of the games that I play every now and again. I definitely do like it a fair amount. It feels very gritty, but you got the main game mode, which is territory, which is just attack and defend. Now it's got infantry gameplay as well as tank gameplay. I have never actually played around with the tanks, but it does appear that infantry game modes are a tad bit more popular here. But when it comes to infantry gameplay, it's good, very realistic. When you shoot somebody, it just feels great. You know, you got that bolt action rifle, you pull the trigger, and it feels powerful. And you're also rewarded for good accuracy, because one hit kills pretty much most of the time with a bolt action rifle, unless you shoot somebody in the pelvis, in which case you're gonna have to be a tad bit more center mass. But yeah, you have a fair amount of infantry roles with different weapons. Now there is a limited amount of certain roles, so you're not gonna have 30 people with machine guns and sniper rifles. That's to maintain a balance. Now you got 2, which I would say special roles, which is squad leader and commander. Squad leader can be a mobile spawn point, and the commander can call in artillery strikes and reconnaissance planes. And you can rank up each class to gain some additional weapons and improve your soldiers' stats as well, so you can actually sprint a tad bit longer and get less panicked. There is like a panic system in this game. If you get shot at too much or barraged with artillery, your guy starts breathing in and out really heavily. It's kind of annoying, but it is pretty cool. I don't know, this game overall just feels really epic when you're making a big push as a Russian soldier and get mowed down by a machine gun because somebody's camping up in a window. But yeah, as I mentioned, you got 2 campaigns to choose from. You got the Eastern Front, which is primarily urban warfare. There is some more open maps out there as well with some snow, but I prefer the urban warfare. It definitely feels cool. You can snipe out of windows, snipe other people that are sniping out of windows. Then you also got the Pacific campaign, which has a tad bit more open terrain. It's not horrible though. There's still some ability to move around as well. With this one, you get to use flamethrowers as well as knee mortars. Now, gameplay-wise, as I said, it's realistic, so you're gonna die fairly quickly to bolt-action rifle shots. Sprinting out in the open usually gets you killed. Now, there is a slight aiming dead zone if you play the realism game mode, which is what most servers are spinning up right now. Which means that your aim is gonna veer a tad bit off-center. It basically means that your crosshair, your iron sights are not pointed on the center of your screen the entire time, but it veers off from that center, so it's to sort of make aiming more realistic, I guess. I'm not sure if I really agree with that. I mean, I'm not a gigantic fan of aiming dead zone, but I can still aim in this game just fine. It just kind of makes it feel like you got springs attached to your arm. Now in this game, hip firing is a no-no. If you start hip firing, you're gonna miss every fucking shot out there. You're basically going to be hitting everything except what you're trying to shoot at. I actually got some clips where you could probably see that. You definitely want to be using iron sights in this game. Yeah, overall I like this game just a lot. Definitely worth a purchase. I don't think it's that horribly expensive anymore either. So if you're looking around for a realistic shooter and you still like World War II shooters, I mean, the market is not really saturated with World War II shooters anymore, so it's something refreshing at this point. Then I would honestly advise you to buy this game. There's still plenty of servers out there with people and bots which you can shoot at. But moving on to our last game, which is Verdun. I've also covered this game on this channel before, but I feel like it's very closely connected to what I'm talking about here, which is why I'm covering it. So Verdun is a World War I shooter. Yeah, we are moving back in time actually today. Maybe I should have actually started out with this game and then gone up to Arma from Red Orchestra 2. That would have probably made more sense, but we're going anti-chronological here, apparently. Anyways, Verdun is a World War I shooter, and it honestly reminds me a lot of Red Orchestra 2 when I play it. So it's set on the Western Front, which means that you can play as Germany, France, Great Britain, and you can also play as Canadians in this game. And the main game mode is Frontlines, in which you take turns attacking and defending trenches. I mean, as World War I, it's kind of to be expected here. There is a bunch of trenches out there. I mean, most of the maps look like they've been blown to shit, and have a bunch of trenches and barbed wire everywhere. I mean, that's that picture you get when you think of World War I, so that is what you get with the game. But when you join the main game mode, you join in with a squad of 4 people. So the squad consists of a squad leader, a rifleman, a machine gunner, and a bomber. So of course all these guys have different weapons. The rifleman can have a sniper scope. I mean, it works kinda in a weird way. So you got the 4 different classes, I guess you could say. And then within these classes you have different variants of these classes, which you can utilize. So the classes sort of remain the same, they just have different equipment and or weapons. So say with your rifleman you can have just a plain bolt action rifle. You can use one of your unlock points to get a rifle with a scope on it, and then the third option is to have a rifle and a pistol. So different variants of certain classes to suit your needs. I mean, if you're going to be fighting up close, you probably want to grab a pistol because that's definitely better up close than a bolt action rifle. If you're far away, you probably want to grab that sniper rifle, although that scope is kind of awkward to use. It's kind of a weird scope. I mean, we're talking about old-fashioned technology right here. Sniper rifles were not really that advanced back then. But if you do well, you level up, then you get unlock points, and then with those unlock points you can unlock different things within those classes I just mentioned. If you play different game modes, you can use them to unlock weapons as well. So there's some progression there. You can also level up your squad and get some bonuses there, as well as a new outfit. So basically, when you level up your squad, you become more seasoned, and you progress through clothing. So you start out wearing cloth hats, and then you move on to helmets because your squad is now seasoned in World War I trench warfare. But yeah, overall I like this game a fair amount. It's unique as well. I mean, I haven't really seen too many World War I shooters out there, so that is partly one of the reasons why I got this game. But it's nice and gritty, it feels realistic when you shoot somebody. But I do have some gripes with this game though. It kinda does feel a tad bit more clunky than Red Orchestra 2. And the basis of the gameplay is less exciting to me. I mean, it's trench warfare as I mentioned, but you just got these gigantic open terrains, which makes it hard to move around. I mean, if you move around without cover, and there is not a lot of cover in No Man's Land, chances are you're gonna get gunned down. I mean, that's kind of the basis of the gameplay there, but it's not very exciting when that happens. And because there's gigantic open terrains, it also kind of makes it difficult to see people. You need to have very good eyes to be able to spot that one helmet that sticks out right next to that tree in the mud. So overall, when I play this game, it reminds me a lot of Red Orchestra 2 because of the one-hit bolt action rifles and just sort of the feel I get. And I kind of do prefer Red Orchestra 2. One, because of the maps. I kind of prefer the urban warfare, or more urban warfare Red Orchestra 2, as well as the feeling of the guns in Red Orchestra 2. They kind of do feel a tad bit better. It's still a very fun game to play, definitely worth the money. So if you want to try out a World War I shooter, and there's not many out there, then definitely try this one. It's out on Steam. But yeah, these were 3 flavors of realism, so there is realism to be found on Steam, and you can buy it with money. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the video, and I will be back with another video soonish.